Leon Gonzales, a prestigious and wealthy CEO, stepped out of his sleek black car in front of the Serenity Cove Resort, where golden sunlight illuminated the towering palm trees along the crystal blue shoreline. For him, this wasn't a vacation, it was an opportunity to fully focus on business. A crucial deal with the Kingston Corporation awaited him in the luxurious penthouse suite on the top floor. Leon was the epitome of success, confident, composed, and always in control, carrying an aura that needed no introduction. His life was a never-ending cycle of meetings, contracts, and strategies, leaving no room for vague notions of family or children. In Leon's world, emotions were a luxury, pushed into a deep, forgotten corner of his mind, only to be considered once every business goal had been achieved. But that day, in the quiet solitude of his suite with a breathtaking ocean view, his peace was abruptly shattered. Two 3-year-olds, Sophia Bennett and Lucas Bennett, suddenly burst into the room, their laughter ringing through the air as they chased after a fluffy little puppy. Leon froze, laptop still in hand, his expression shifting from surprise to confusion. And then Olivia Harper, the children's mother, appeared right behind them. Her face, so familiar, sparked a long-buried memory in his mind, pulling him back to a moment from years ago. The pure laughter of Sophia and Lucas still echoed through Leon Gonzales's lavish suite when the door swung open once more, revealing Olivia Harper, her face flushed with panic. Leon froze, his laptop slipping from his hands and landing on the table with a sharp thud. His eyes locked onto her, a face he had only glimpsed in the hazy memories of a charity gala 5 years ago. Olivia, breathless, rushed forward to gather the two children, her voice trembling with apology. "I didn't expect. They were just chasing the puppy." But Leon barely heard her words. His heart pounded, an unfamiliar sensation creeping over him, as if the very ground beneath him had begun to shift. Sophia, with her wide, curious eyes, gazed up at him, while Lucas, still clutching the tiny puppy, tilted his head as if trying to remember something. "You're," Leon murmured, his voice unsteady, as a long-buried memory flared to life, a fleeting night, a passing smile in the midst of a crowded room. Olivia bit her lip, her expression wavering between shock and helplessness, then whispered, "I only came here to relax. My friend invited me. I never expected to see you." Her words hung in the air, heavy like a sentence being passed down. Leon swallowed hard, feeling a cold sweat seep through his expensive dress shirt. He knew in that moment that everything, the perfect walls he had built around his life, was about to come crashing down. Leon Gonzales's suite, once his impenetrable fortress, had suddenly turned into a chaotic battlefield as Sophia Bennett and Lucas Bennett burst in, their laughter slicing through the silence like sharp blades. A fluffy little puppy darted around, its tail wagging furiously, while Leon stood frozen, his breath caught in his chest. Before he could react, the door flew open again. Olivia Harper appeared, her hair disheveled, eyes wide with panic. "Sophia, Lucas! Oh my God, I'm so sorry!" she gasped, rushing forward to grab the two children. Leon felt the blood rush to his head, a jolt of electricity running down his spine as his gaze locked onto her. That face, so hauntingly familiar, like a ghost from a past he had buried. 5 years ago, a charity event, a fleeting moment. But how? "Olivia," he choked out, his voice rough, fingers tightening around the edge of the table. She froze, her breath ragged, her eyes darting away as if she were hiding something unspeakable. We were just here to relax. I didn't mean to," Olivia stammered, clutching Sophia protectively, while Lucas looked up at Leon with an oddly curious expression. A suffocating silence swallowed the room, broken only by the pounding of Leon's heart. He knew, at that moment, his life would never be the same again. The air in Leon Gonzales's suite was heavy, like the stillness before a storm, as Olivia Harper, still clutching Sophia, hesitated before meeting his gaze. The puppy's distant barking echoed like an omen, while Lucas stood there, his clear, innocent eyes unknowingly piercing straight into Leon's soul. "Leon, Olivia began, her voice trembling on the verge of breaking. "Sophia and Lucas, they're your children." Her confession struck like a blade, making Leon stagger, his hand gripping the chair to keep from collapsing. His heart pounded erratically, blood rushing hot to his temples. Impossible. 5 years ago, a charity gala. A fleeting moment he had erased from memory, now returning to haunt him like a curse. "What did you just say?" he ground out, his voice low and raw, his eyes burning, not with anger but with the sheer panic tearing through his carefully controlled world. Olivia bit her lip, tears spilling over. "I tried to find you. I called you dozens of times, but you disappeared. Your number changed, my letters unanswered." Leon looked at Sophia, saw his own eyes staring back at him. Then Lucas, with a smile that stirred long-buried childhood memories. His mind spun, cold sweat breaking across his skin. He was a father. To two children he had never known existed. Olivia gripped her hands tightly, her voice thick with emotion. "I never wanted to disrupt your life, but you had to know the truth." In that moment, Leon's world crumbled, leaving him lost in the nightmare of reality. The storm raging inside Leon Gonzales refused to settle as Olivia Harper's truth pierced through him like a razor-sharp blade. He was Sophia and Lucas's father. His mind spun, each breath heavy, crushed beneath the weight of her confession. But then, amidst the chaos, Sophia stepped forward, her tiny hands clutching the fabric of his pant leg, her voice innocent and sweet. "Mister, will you play with me?" Leon froze. His gaze fell upon her pure, untainted face, and his heart clenched. She was his flesh and blood. Lucas, without hesitation, tugged the little puppy closer, beaming. "Look, mister, he runs really fast." A jolt of electricity surged through Leon, shattering the icy walls he had built for years. He knelt down, his hands trembling as he helped Sophia shape a sandcastle. Each grain slipping through his fingers screamed at him, "Do you realize what you've missed?" Lucas's laughter echoed through the air as Leon read them a bedtime story that night, but with every word he spoke, it felt like a hammer striking his conscience. 3 years. 3 years he had never known they existed. From a distance, Olivia watched, her eyes flickering between hope and fear. Leon pulled Sophia and Lucas into his arms, warmth flooding through him, entwined with unbearable regret. He could never change the past, but at this moment he swore he would never lose them again, even if his heart bled for everything he had already lost. After days filled with Sophia and Lucas's laughter, Leon Gonzales felt as if his heart was being torn in two, joy intertwined with the agonizing pain of lost time. But he knew that emotions weren't enough. He had to face reality through action. "We need a DNA test," he told Olivia Harper, his voice firm yet unsteady, like a man standing at the edge of fate. Olivia nodded, but her eyes flickered with unease, as if fearing that the results would shatter the fragile peace they had just begun to build. The day of the test arrived, and the air inside Serenity Cove Resort's medical suite felt as heavy as the sky before a storm. Sophia winced as the swab brushed her cheek, while Lucas clung tightly to Leon's hand, his innocent eyes filled with hesitation. "Will it hurt?" the boy asked. Leon squeezed his hand, his heart pounding. He needed proof to protect them, yet deep inside he feared something might take them away from him once again. The results came swiftly, slicing through him like a blade. He was their father. No more doubts. Sitting across from each other, Olivia's hands trembled as she signed the paternity acknowledgement, while Leon pressed his pen to the paper as if sealing his own fate, an unbreakable vow. "I'll provide for them. I'll be there," he declared, his voice rough, his eyes misty as he watched Sophia and Lucas play, oblivious to the storm raging inside him. But deep down he knew a signature was just the beginning. The real battle to keep them had only just begun. The legal documents had just been signed, the ink barely dry, when a call from his assistant ripped apart Leon Gonzales's fragile moment of joy. The Kingston deal, the crown jewel of his career, was on the verge of collapse. They demanded his immediate presence in the city for direct negotiations. If he didn't go, millions of dollars and the reputation he had spent years building would go up in smoke. Leon stood frozen in his suite, his grip tightening around the phone, his mind torn between the briefcase by his bed and the sight of Sophia and Lucas laughing on the beach through the window. His heart clenched. He had just found them. He had just sworn never to leave. And yet, here he was, forced to choose between his empire and his family. Olivia stepped in, concern flashing in her eyes. "What's wrong?" Leon clenched his jaw, his voice barely steady. "I have to go. Tomorrow." The air grew thick, suffocating. Sophia ran to him, tiny arms wrapping around his leg, while Lucas, his voice innocent yet piercing, asked, "Where are you going?" The words cut through Leon like a blade. He wanted to stay, to build sandcastles, to read bedtime stories, to make up for lost time. But the empire he built roared for him, relentless and unforgiving. "I'll be back," he growled, pulling them close, his throat tight, tears burning behind his eyes but refusing to fall. Inside him, a brutal war raged. Leaving felt like betrayal. Staying felt like self-destruction. Leon Gonzales stood still at the entrance of Serenity Cove Resort, the fading sunlight casting a golden hue over the taxi carrying Olivia Harper, Sophia, and Lucas as it disappeared behind the swaying palm trees. He clung tightly to his promise. Even though he had to fly out first thing in the morning to salvage the Kingston deal, he swore he would never let distance separate him from the two children who had stormed into his life like a whirlwind. "I'll call every day. I'll be back as soon as I can," he had whispered to Olivia the night before, his voice strained, as if afraid his words would dissolve into the ocean breeze. Through the window, Sophia waved, while Lucas shouted, "You have to build a sandcastle with me, okay?" Their voices etched into his soul, painful yet warm. His heart, once frozen by contracts and ambition, now burned with a new fire: fatherhood. The lesson cut through him like a blade. Money and power could never make up for lost time, but he could make things right with his presence, with a love he never knew he was capable of. As the taxi disappeared from sight, Leon turned back to his empty suite, his chest heavy yet filled with a flicker of hope. He would return, but would he make it in time to keep the next sandcastle from crumbling under the waves? The answer hung in the air, as vast and uncertain as the ocean before him, deep, mysterious, waiting for him to take the next step on the uncharted path of fatherhood.